Hello everyone. I'm back again, same clothes. I just felt like making a ton of videos today. So, yeah, we are going to be talking about how to properly apply liquid metal on a piece of silicon, right? A GPU die. Um, I do not recommend liquid metal on a CPU unless you delid it. Liquid metal is really meant for die to cooler cooling. Um, a CPU, the IHS on a CPU just doesn't allow enough heat transfer for liquid metal to actually shine, right? To actually do its job properly. Now, if you delid your CPU and you apply liquid metal, that is a completely different story, and you will probably drop like motherfucking 30 degrees C off of your CPU temp. Maybe that's an over exaggeration. Maybe like 20 C, right? Um, so yeah, don't recommend liquid metal if you have a CPU, um, and you want good temps and really to probably never service it ever until you retire it. Use something like a phase change thermal pad. Thermal Grizzly makes one where you just cut out the little pad, you put it on top of your CPU, and you set it and forget it. And yeah, you'll have great temps. Now if you have like an i9, or well really just yeah, if you have an i9, temps are going to be extremely difficult to regulate or control anyways. So yeah, you're kind of no matter what you do, unless you delid your CPU on an i9, you're gonna have high temperatures regardless. Even with the delid with a full core workload, you'll still hit like 80 C probably. But the thing is, your max will be like 75 to 80 C instead of like 95 C or 90 C, right? Um, so, anyways, let's get into the whole instruction. Now, imagine this is a GPU die, right? With my XTX, obviously, it looked like this: dink, 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 boom. 7900 XTX die, and you want to apply liquid metal to it, right? So your brush, well, if you buy the Thermal Grizzly like kit, they give you a Q-tip, and I would say the Q-tip is about like that size, maybe a little bit smaller, right? When you're applying it, so your strokes are going to be strokes are going to be that's a little thick. I would say like maybe that. Anyways, so you have the liquid metal, right? You want to be very careful because you will have a little like syringe sort of deal. And what you're going to want to do is you're actually going to want to hold the syringe with both hands because you have better control. And you're going to so once you have this, obviously take apart the GPU, um, and you're going to want to put it on a solid surface, and whether you're sitting or like, kind of laying down, looking at it. There's been so many times where I've literally done a liquid metal application on the floor, because in my opinion, I just have the best control over my just what I'm doing when I'm doing that. But you could do it sitting, whatever way works best for you. Um, so you hold it with both hands, right? And you very slowly, very extremely slowly. Now I recommend before you even squeeze out anything, you actually pull the little syringe, whatever this is called, the thing that you grab and like push or pull or whatever. You want to pull it out, right? Because that like releases it. It releases that static tension, I think it's called, or the static friction, not static friction, stationary friction, right? Because stationary friction is higher than actual like friction when an object is in motion. So you want to release that friction, right? Get like because it's probably been sitting in the package for God knows how long, and the last thing you want to do is start pushing, and it just releases quickly, and you end up spraying liquid metal all over all your stuff, right? So you want to release that tension, and then you want to slowly push it out. And what I recommend is having like a maybe you could have a plate or a paper plate or something, and actually squeeze out a little bit of liquid metal onto the plate, right? So that you kind of know where the start of the liquid metal is, so that you don't, like you just know exactly where. It's like, and then wait, okay, anyways, what you want to do is you want to pick, you can very easily pick back up the liquid metal by just putting the little tip on the liquid metal and just pulling back up. And it should all come back in. It's weird. The liquid metal kind of just follows wherever all the other liquid metal is going. So yeah, it's not difficult to do at all. And once you have that, then you know exactly where the liquid metal is kind of going to come out, right? So when you first start pressing, you know it's going to immediately start coming out. So what you're going to want to do is get up close to the GPU die, and you're going to very slowly, like with very minimal pressure, push out where you'll have like a little liquid metal bead, like build up on the GPU die. Now you don't want a lot, right? You just want a little bit. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to take the applicator, right, or the Q-tip that is provided, and it's going to be like this. You're going to want to start doing, this sort of motion, right, like a circular sort of swirl motion, and you're going to have to keep on doing that. Now so you're going to have to just keep on doing that, right, and eventually the liquid metal will, like I guess, break the surface tension with the die itself, and it will pretty kind of like attach, right? Like not chemically or anything like that, but that sort of the tension or the layer, right? The little layer of air or whatever between between the die and the liquid metal is broken, right? So it'll start attaching pretty much. And as you keep going, it'll become easier and easier, and you just keep on going, right? And well, I just went out the board or whatever. Well, hold on. Let me stop you right there, Tiger. Let me stop you right there. Completely forgot to mention. You need to either cover because you'll have little, make this small again. You'll have little like IHO, it's a little too small. Little sort of capacitors, right, outside of the GPU die that are like lined up like this, right? All of those. You're going to either want to go to the store, buy some clear nail polish, right? And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, something colored would probably be better because if it's colored, you can tell that they are completely covered up, right? With clear, it might be a little bit harder to tell, if it's actually covered or the layers are thick enough or whatever. And they do sell a high heat sort of. I think Thermal Grizzly does sell like a high heat. It's literally like a nail polish, pretty much. It's like an adhesive that you put around the capacitors, and yeah, it pretty much just covers them to ensure that the liquid metal does not come into contact with them, because that would be very bad for the GPU. And I'm probably actually going to buy some of that and liquid metal BIOS setup, because I want to make sure that my liquid metal application lasts for a very long time and does not, because regular nail polish, who knows how long it's going to be able to survive the heat of a GPU, right? So anyways, now that we got that out of the way, make sure all of these are covered, either that or with Captain tape, right? All that good stuff. You're gonna want to keep, you're gonna want to keep on going, but apply all the liquid metal, this and that, right? And then once the liquid metal is all the way applied, you want to make sure everything is covered, because liquid metal is not like thermal paste where it spreads. It has to break that surface barrier between the IHS and the liquid metal in order to have a proper contact. I'm just switching to green just to show my method, right? Now that you have liquid metal generally applied to everything, this is where we ensure that it's there might be some little air bubbles or something hiding, right? You don't want that to happen. So you're going to start doing this motion, dink, and then go back up, and then go back down, and then go back up, and then go back down, and you're going to want to keep on going, right? Now obviously I missed a spot, but you're gonna do this a couple of times. So you're going to do this, right? Now make sure you're carefully, don't hit a bunch of liquid metal off the IHS or anything like that. Okay? And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go in this direction, right? Dink, 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 right? And you're going to want to do this a couple of times, just to make sure any air bubbles or anything weird isn't going to impact the adhesion of the liquid metal to the IHS. So now we're done with that. And now you're going to do it again. I mean, you could even, you could do it sideways like this if you wanted, right? You could go like that. or whatever you want to do. But you generally just want to make sure that the liquid metal has adhered to every part of the IHS. Now, once you've done this, right, and all the liquid metal is applied to the IHS, um, you are going to, you can do this as many times as you want until you feel satisfied and good. Um, and make sure that there's no silicon exposed at all. You want every single inch of your die to be to have liquid metal attached to it. And it's very easy to tell if the liquid metal is attached to it or not, because if the liquid metal is not attached to it, it literally will look, it will look exposed, right? It just will look exposed. So, but with this, you get all the air bubbles out. You get any sort of, maybe anything that's hidden. You don't got to worry. So we're gonna go back. Imagine, right? We're no longer, doing my XTX, this and that. Okay, we're gonna take that off. So imagine this is your CPU cooler. That you have well, okay, here, let me restart. Here is your AIO or air cooler, or well, not A, I'm tripping. Your air cooler, because we're talking about GPUs here, not a CPU. This is the copper block, right? If it's aluminum, you're not going to be able to actually do anything with liquid metal. It's that simple. Liquid metal will eat straight through any sort of aluminum you throw at it. So the GPU die is only going to take up around this, this amount of area. Okay. So from previous mounting, you should kind of be able to see a little bit of an outline to where the GPU contacts the copper, right? Now, and I think, so, it's copper, but it'll be nickel plated, I think, and this and that. So, but as long as you have copper and nickel plating, or even just copper, you're fine. You'll be fine. So some really good GPU makers have little arrows for where the die sits, right? So it'll look like that. And then you know exactly where you need to fill. You know the exact area where the liquid metal needs to go, right? Okay, so now you're going to want to, once again, do exactly the same thing. Squeeze out a little bit of liquid metal on the CPU cooler block or whatever, and do the same exact motions that I just showed you, right? You're going to fill this in with liquid metal. And because I use these little guides, we're going to fill in, oh, well, I went over, but you get the gist, right? So, and then we go over it again, boom. Okay, and once again, do it a few times to make sure all air gaps or anything like that are filled in, right? So you keep going, keep going. Now you're looking pretty good. Now, what I do normally, and some people might disagree, but to ensure a very good contact with the cooler and the IHS, I will add a little bit more liquid metal than what some people might think, because now that the die is covered in liquid metal, when you put liquid metal on top of it, it will just simply expand the liquid metal. So it's not going to bead up on top of the liquid metal or anything. Liquid metal likes to stay with liquid metal. So it will just become a part of the liquid metal that you have already placed. And what you'll notice is that it will expand a little bit. Now, you don't want to add too much, right? But now that your capacitors are covered, right, I do not recommend applying liquid metal unless you cover your capacitors. I do not take the risk. Do not do it. I'm telling you right now, if you don't have nail polish, if you can't do it tonight, it's not the end of the world. Wait till tomorrow, or if you're like 17 or 18 or whatever, you can't drive, ask your mom. I'm sure somebody in your house got some nail polish, right? Make sure those capacitors are covered. Do not apply any liquid metal to anything unless those are covered. Because the odds of liquid metal running off of the IHS are extremely high. I have yet to have a liquid metal application where the liquid metal did not run off of the GPU die. Not once, never. So odds are it will happen to you too. And I promise you, if that liquid metal hits those capacitors uncovered, you're probably going to kill your chip. And at the very worst, it's going to shut down. It's just not going to be good. Don't do it. But granted, as long as all of them are covered, you should have, and add a couple of layers of nail polish. Let me add a couple of layers. Don't just leave one layer. Add like minimum of like 3 layers. to make sure that they are sufficiently covered and good to go. Um, as long as that's all good, you're going to, if you add a little bit of extra liquid metal, it should hurt absolutely nothing, right? Even if it does, roll off the IHS a little bit and even touch the where the capacitors are, you'll be fine because they are completely covered. They are insulated. Um, so as long as that's good, in my opinion, a little bit more liquid metal is a lot better than a little bit less liquid metal. More liquid metal is going to allow your application to last longer because a lot of people that don't cover their capacitors add just a tiny bit of liquid metal. And in my opinion, that leaves room for maybe, imperfect surfaces, right? To leave little gaps. Whereas with more liquid metal, you are much better able to fill those gaps up completely. And case in point, the reason I've had experience with this, right? I've done probably 10 liquid metal applications, so I'm pretty good at it at this point. With my last Red Devil XTX, the I did kind of like what I was just talking about, where I added just a little bit of liquid metal, and I was like, okay, why aren't my temps like good, right? Like they were okay, but they were still very, very high. Uh, higher than like my hotspot was still hitting 105C. I was like, okay, this is very weird, whatever. So an idea popped in my head. I was like, maybe, because you always hear people talk about, you want to add just a super tiny sheet of liquid metal. But I was thinking maybe I didn't apply enough, maybe I didn't put enough for, the IHS to make a good contact with the die and have that like pretty much perfect thermal conductivity or thermal conductivity that liquid metal has. So I took apart my Red Devil XTX and I applied more liquid metal, once again doing the motions and everything like that. And lo and behold, that was my issue. My temps dropped by like 10C. So now with a flat like NVIDIA die, right? Because they don't have the chiplets and everything, you might be able to get away with a less liquid metal. But even for that, if your capacitors are covered, I recommend adding a little bit more, right? And one day I'll have to do a let me do a little visual demonstration of what it should look like, right? Okay, so this is, let's say we're looking at the IHS from the side, right? This is the IHS, boom, that. And then your GPU die might come up like that, right? That's your GPU die. When you apply the liquid metal how I'm proposing, whereas somebody else might tell you to add a tiny little thin layer like that, right? That's what the liquid metal might look like. My layer will look a little bit more like this, right? It'll come up a little bit more and then it'll drop down. So it's like, when you open up or you fill up a cup of water and the surface tension is keeping the water from overfilling over the cup, and you kind of see a little bit of a dome. That is exactly what the liquid metal should look like. Now, not too much, right? Don't add too much. You don't have to go crazy, but just a little bit more than what you might think you have to add, because so many people say, oh, you just need the tiniest little sheet of liquid metal. No. As like once again, as long as you cover your capacitors and everything, you should be golden. Even if it does overflow. Now, I would not recommend using Captain Tape. I feel like Captain Tape is kind of a very iffy sort of method when it comes to covering the because in my opinion, it's kind of it could be easy for liquid metal to come over the IHS and maybe go under the Captain Tape. So I've never really liked using Captain Tape. Whereas with nail polish or some sort of high temperature adhesive, right? Like once again, here I'll show you what Thermal Grizzly has. Let's see, liquid metal nail polish, because I don't know what the fuck he calls it something. Okay, I know he's got it some conductor. Okay, here's the liquid metal, but shit, what is it? Thermal Grizzly. See, he has the red stuff right here over the capacitor. I see. I gotta look it up. Okay, before I end the video, I gotta figure out, because this is what I really recommend. Like, this is never gonna fail. Whereas something like regular nail polish, I don't 100% trust. So see, that's Duronaut. Here, let me look up liquid metal. Maybe that'll pop it up. Liquid metal. Okay, there's conductor not conduct. Okay, that's not what I want. Um, cover. No. Okay, I'm gonna have to chat GPT it. Good lord. What is the product? Thermal grizzly. Come on. To cover capacitors. This is what I recommend you guys get. It's probably going to be a little bit more on the expensive side. TG sheet, that's what it is. Okay. Come on, man. Like, that's such a TG shield, really? Come on. Come on, brother. This is a boom. I'm probably going to buy some of this. This is what you want, right? This is the good stuff. So yeah, I recommend getting this. It's conformal coating. That's what I couldn't think of the word. But when things have weird ass names, it's like you don't remember it, but whatever. Anyways, I recommend you get this. It's probably never gonna, fail or anything like that. Like this is made to so high application temperature. So this is made to, be able to handle high temperatures. And for $13, it's like this is probably a good investment, in my opinion. So, yeah. Anyways, so that is pretty much how you apply liquid metal. It's not difficult. It isn't anything too crazy, and as long as you just take the steps and you pretty much do exactly what I tell you, you will be totally fine. Your GPU will have pretty much zero risk of dying, right? If anything, it will last significantly longer because your temps are now going to be much cooler. So yeah, as long as you cover up those, that is the one thing that could kill the GPU is if you don't cover the capacitors. And I know I keep saying it, but you gotta do it. Like there's no other, at the very least, Captain Tape, very least. But even then, I very much more recommend something like this conformal coating. So or even regular nail polish would probably be even better. Or if you just use regular nail polish, do that plus the Captain Tape. Then you got two safeguards, right? So yeah. With that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully this helped you guys and was informative. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions or anything in the comments down below, and I'll see y'all in the next one.